Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Dope and Dharma. I am, of course, the Dharma guy, and he is the Dope Doctor. And together, in this hour, right now, we are Dharma time on Dope and Dharma. What's up?
It's that Dharma time.
Yeah, right?
Right now.
Well, normally, we would be on at Tuesdays, and right now on Fridays, if you're watching this live on Facebook.com/WPSN99, you would be watching the Couch Live. But instead, we were helping a friend, and we were shooting a television show on Tuesday, and we did the Couch live from the studios there in Sanford. So we swapped things around, and so today is Dharma time. So we're happy to be here once again. If you're watching live, if you're consuming this via one of your favorite podcast platforms, then yeah, it's whatever day you normally listen. So,
yep.
Ta-da! Anyways,
welcome.
Yes, and how are you feeling today, Mr. Dope Doctor?
Yeah, shoulder's not great, but I'm here.
Well, it's like a daily thing right now, right? Ever since your surgery, it's like, some days are better than others. I'm assuming, anyways. And that's supposed to last for how long? Like up to 2 years, you said, right? Like potentially.
Up to 2 years. I'm gonna go to a shoulder specialist though to find out if they dislocated my shoulder or in surgery or something, man. I don't know.
Wow, that sucks.
The shoulder has been like excruciating ever since, and it just won't stop.
Wow. Well, I think to me, I think it's kind of actually a good transition to what we're talking about. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm going to make it relate. That's what we do. So, what I wanted to talk about today. There's like a buzzword that goes around a lot, right? But I don't think. First of all, I don't think people actually do it half the time, and when it's said, I'm not really sure people really know what it means, right? Like they don't pontificate about it, on their posting.
Word.
That's right. It's one of them $5 words. So that when they post about it, they don't explain it or anything like that. They just say it, and then people are like, "Yeah, that sounds good," but then it doesn't seem to really catch on. And that is, be kind. Right? So today I want to talk about kindness. I want to talk about like what it is, right? Like what does that even mean? Why should we do it? Those kinds of things. Because I don't know how much social media. We're both, I guess, big on it now, but I see a lot. I see so many people talking about being kind and stuff, and doing the right thing, that kind of stuff. But it's like, what does that even mean, right? Because the same people who tell me be kind. Later on that same day, I'll see a post of them completely annihilating somebody that they don't agree with, for instance, right. Or making a bunch of judgments and stuff. And as far as my definition of kindness, it just doesn't feel like it adds up, right? Like it just, you're talking about being kind, but oftentimes, if I'm giving my own like assessment, if you will, when I look at it, oftentimes what it feels, now once again, this might not be their intent, but it comes off as if what they're really saying is be kind to the people that you agree with or relate to. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like they mean be kind in general or to everybody. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Okay. What do you think? You want to talk about that today? You feel like pontificating about that today?
I think on the average person, when they think about respect and when they think about kindness and when they think about all these kinds of words, I think they mean towards them or to people they care about. But to people they don't agree with or that they don't like, I don't think they mean them. So
I agree. Well, first of all, what is kindness?
That say be kind and be respectful and all that stuff are not being kind and respectful
no.
all the time. And so, but I think all of us are hypocritical to a degree. So, I don't want to hit him too hard. I'm just saying, kindness. I think it would start with Ellen. What does Ellen say at the end of every show? Ellen says something at the end of every show.
I don't think I've ever watched Ellen, so.
Yeah, I like her, but
I watched the old show, her original one before she came out.
I think she's talented as hell. I just don't watch the show, but she says something about be good to each other, or something like that. And then I know that Julie Chen tried to do that during Big Brother.
Who?
Kept like playing Julie Chan,
Oh,
Chan.
well,
Is it Chen? The one from Big Brother. She's married to the
it's
guy
another
from
show I don't
CBS.
watch. So,
Whatever. This is going to be a charade show, by the way. So I'll just act out every part. You just tell me who the actor or actress is or whatever. But she, what she does is she tries to mimic that what Ellen did, and then she kept on going around and tried to be good to each other, be kind to each other. She tried all these different things. Like you could tell she was searching for an end phrase like Ellen has.
right.
But it didn't work for her. I mean, I think she finally landed on something, but who knows?
Not everybody can
But
have now that you know better, do better. Not everybody can have that.
not everybody can. Not
Or
everybody can say
adios
something
amigos, it's time for taco. We've copyrighted those. Those are ours now.
Right. But let's not get ready to rumble because I don't want to pay any.
No, I'm not trying to pay him. I don't have the money to pay him, to be honest with you. No, I agree with the kindness thing, man. I think that, like, I mean, what is kind, right? I mean, what does that even mean? I think for me, the way I define it personally, and this is right off the top of the dome, so, forgive.
Okay.
I think it's wanting happiness and success for yourself and sharing that to the people around you, wanting the same thing for them. To me, that's what kindness means. Like approaching and having a certain amount of, I don't know, understanding and leeway, right? Like I think kindness is the idea of understanding that we're all kind of doing our best and we're all failing miserably, and given
Why
that
does it have to be negative?
it's not negative. We're not.
You said
we're
all
doing
failing miserably.
We are. We're doing our best and we're failing miserably like everybody else. We're all, nobody's doing their best all day, every day. That's impossible. We might intend to do that, but we're not.
But I don't think we're failing miserably. I think failing miserably was the Dark Ages. Failing miserably was, the Spanish Inquisition. That was failing miserably.
I don't even
the
think
Holocaust, that was failing miserably.
Well, those are individual circumstances, I guess. Yes, but in general,
millions of people getting hurt.
sure. I think in general, in our individual lives, I think we're all doing our best and we're all failing because we're not doing our best. We set out to do that, but we're emotional creatures, man. We get caught up in things, and we get vindictive, or we get resentful, we get upset. Like the reel that I put up yesterday, it said, show your hurt, not your anger. I don't think we do a good job at doing that.
And I would say that we're not doing our best. Because we think we're good people. Most
Right.
people think they're good people. I think you just think you're doing it, but you're not putting any effort into it.
No. Yeah, I agree. I think, and so for me, that's kindness. And I'll be the first to admit, man, no, I don't do it all the time. I mean, my intention is to do that. I think I set out to do that. But as with everybody else, I'm human, man. And sometimes, my emotions get in the way. But I think that my motivation isn't coming from a place of anger, if you will. You know what I mean? Like, I guess what I'm saying is it seems like approach a lot of the times in today's world is if you don't agree with me, then I'm not going to be kind to you. And for me, I don't find myself being guilty of that very often. I more so am guilty of I let my own stuff kind of cloud my responses, if that makes sense. Meaning, I don't typically see myself where I'm at now. When I was younger, for sure. Where I'm at now, it feels like oftentimes if I find myself being unskillful or unkind, it's because I've allowed my own bullshit basically spill out onto people around me. It's not typically I don't agree with you, so now I'm going to bash you. I don't really find myself doing that as much these days because I'm around a lot of people who I don't agree with or don't agree with me and vice versa. And so I think that for me personally, that's where a lot of my unskillfulness comes in. And so my unkindness throughout the day is typically because I can't get out of my own way. It's not necessarily anything that they've done specifically. Right. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm stressed out about stuff. Maybe I'm struggling to wrap my head around something. And then somebody comes and approaches me and I don't give them the patience that they deserve, or I lash out or whatever. And it has nothing to do with them. It's more or less just I'm not really in a headspace right now to give you the kindness that you deserve. And thankfully, I don't do that a lot. I don't think. Obviously they would be able to tell you differently. Maybe, I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But what I have noticed as I've gotten further in my age and my spiritual practice is I'm more able to see it when I'm doing it. And so now I could say like, whoa, like I'll find myself, maybe, my wife, for instance, she'll come home and maybe I'll snap at her. Maybe I don't know, I'll be short or whatever it may be. I'll catch myself like an hour later. It'll register and I'll come back to like, you know what, my bad. Like I didn't realize this, but I kind of was rude to you and I didn't really mean to do that. And she did it to me the other night even. She came to me and apologized after she was short because she was in some pain. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Like you're my wife. You kind of get a free pass on that sometimes. But I don't know if that's the norm, right? I think that people do that, but I also see a lot more. And we just did a show about racism the other day on the couch. What I'm seeing a lot more of these days is I don't agree with you in your stance, whatever it might be. And so now you don't deserve my kindness now, right? Like I see a lot of that. Like you have a stance or a different perspective on something. And because of that, I'm not only not going to be kind, I'm going to be outwardly rude and disrespectful. Like I've seen that. And I don't think that lends itself to progress, man. I don't. What are your thoughts like when it comes to kindness?
I mimic everything that you said, actually. I mean, I think you were right on. I'm the same. If I'm not kind out in public, it's because I'm in my own head. Sometimes my wife will catch me or my kids will catch me and they'll be like,
right,
Dad, you said that kind of mean. I go, oh, I did? Right? Or like the other day when we were setting up for the show, the TV show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I just said, go get that chair over there or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just busy. I'm just doing stuff. And then someone else watched our interaction. They go, man, look, Trinity, does he always talk to you like that?
But see, in that particular instance, I didn't even take that as I don't know. We're dudes, man. We just direct.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I don't know.
I see stuff like that. I just don't catch it.
Right.
I think that I bark. Unfortunately, I tend to be very direct. I tend to sound serious
Right.
when I'm like you said, in my head,
Yeah.
doing something else. I'm not thinking about it. So that's when I tend to come off unkind. But when gets brought to my attention, I try to smile like, no.
Well,
I apologize for it. Whereas I've seen people when it gets brought to their attention, get defensive about it.
Yeah, or they try to justify it.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think let's address both of those, right? Let's start out with the one that you and I both relate to very well, and we just talked about it. We have to understand as people, we're not always successful, right? Like we have to understand that our perspective and what we think we're doing might not always come off the same way, right? And if any of you have ever been in a relationship, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. How many times have we all been in a relationship with somebody? I use that as just because it's an easy example. Where you'll say
once, I'm still in it.
Yeah, right. But where you'll say something and what the other person responds to has nothing to do with what you just said in your head, right? You see, I always used to joke, right? I took it to the super extreme to joke to get my point across, but it feels sometimes like it's, hey, hon, how you doing? What do you mean I'm fat? Like, whoa, what? Like that? Where did that? But sometimes it can come off that way, right? There's been many a times where, like, I'll be off in my own little world somewhere. I don't know, I'm thinking of a million things I got to do, or I'm trying to adjust something, whatever it is. I'm just zoned out, right? To the outside, it looks like I'm present, but inside, I'm not, dude. I'm like running through a million different things. And my wife will come home, and I haven't seen her all day, and she'll walk in the door, she'll see me, and she'll expect for me to respond in the same sense, if you will, that she is, but I don't. And her response is, oh, there's something wrong. She thinks I'm mad. Like, are you upset? Did you have a bad day? And I'm like, what? What do you, what? So in my head, it never occurred to me that maybe I'm coming off, like I'm in a bad mood. Right. And, to me, I'm just like, what? Like, I was thinking like a million things. I'm sorry, I didn't. But that's what I mean by coming off kind. We might think that we're being kind. So I think the first step is to realize that maybe you're not. Maybe you intend to, but the whole true part of kindness isn't necessarily being kind for me, right? Like if I'm trying to be kind, but you don't feel like I'm being kind to you at the moment, then I'm not really doing a good job at it. I need to be kind in the way that you're going to feel that it's kind, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so are you saying this because what you want to address today is the fact that we might be stirring up the water around us so it comes at us a certain way unintentionally?
I'm trying to cover it all, right? Like what made me think of it is I see a lot right now, stuff. I see a lot of turmoil around us, right? I see a lot of with my kids, with friends, with just watching online, watching the news, whatever it may be. I see a lot of people talking about being kind, right? On how you need to be kind to other people. We need to learn to listen and accept and all these wonderful things. But then when I see their behavior is contradictory to that statement. And I don't know if people realize that they're not actually being kind, right? We get so caught up in stuff that we don't really pay attention to the idea of kindness, right? We think that we're being kind, or maybe we subconsciously reserve that kindness for our inner circle as opposed to exuding it to everybody. And that's the thing, is everybody deserves your kindness. In other words, I'm not saying you got to go out of your way and build this magnificent, loving connection with every human being that you come into contact with, but every human being that you do come in contact with deserves a certain amount of kindness, though. And kindness could just be as simple as, I'm not going to be rude to you today. That could be a form of kindness as well.
Wow, you just hit on the way I used to view it. I used to view it that as long as look, I didn't curse you out, I didn't punch you, I didn't say anything to you. I'm just not even talking to you. So right. I am being kind. I used to think that.
Well, it's a form of it. Yeah. I mean, if that's all you got, then yeah. Right. I mean,
Well, I'm just saying. But before I actually cared about people,
right?
It didn't matter to me what you thought, what you felt, ever.
Sure, I can relate to that.
But I actually do care about people now, and I've worked really hard to care about people, because what it does, it helps me be kinder to myself and my family as well, though.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I thought, I really thought that as long as I was nice to my family and and to myself, that's all that mattered.
Right.
But what I found is when I started to be nicer externally to other people, it actually made everything just easier and better and softer.
Yeah, it's approach. It's a mindset.
I think you and me suffer the same thing, though. I think that you and me suffer the thing that if we're not speaking, we don't come off approachable or kind.
No.
So,
and I don't mean to do that, but apparently my demeanor is intimidating to some people, or even when I'm trying not to be aggressive, I still come off as aggressive.
Well, when you're quiet, and because in social situations sometimes you just stay real quiet, and so people always ask me if you're in a mood or like what's wrong with Trinity. I don't know. I don't know if people probably don't ask you that because I'm talking a lot.
Right.
In social situations, but in a lot of social situations you're not. Now when you do start talking, then it the softer you comes out,
right?
And obviously they know better. But when you're not speaking and you're kind of off in your own thing,
right? Yeah,
I always get those questions.
I get it here at the house all the time. Yeah, people think I'm upset, and I'm like, no, I had nothing to say. Or like, especially if you and I are in a situation together, right. I oftentimes find that you can't have two chiefs, right? You know what I mean? Like, and so if you're kind of addressing or talking or whatever, then my role, the way I see it, changes. I'm more of a supportive role at that point. Now it's my time to kind of like, we're not fighting for the spotlight type situation. I need to stay back and make sure things are running smooth or doing what they need to do. Or it's just something that I'm not knowledgeable about, so I just don't say anything. Right. But yeah, they view that as I'm upset or I'm angry. I get at the house a lot.
Well, that's why I introduced you as my bodyguard. I think
right.
It just makes sense.
Well, you actually touched on something that. So the way I first came across it, right? The way at first, because I was much in the same way. As long as I'm not being a dick to you, hey, I'm being kind, right? Right. And when I was younger, that was my mindset. But a buddy of mine kind of showed me a different way. This was, God, I don't know, like 20 plus years ago now. I used to watch him, and him and I were really good friends. We related, and we interacted with one another in a very similar way. But I noticed a huge difference when it came to other people. Just random people. I don't, like, just people that we worked with, people we knew. Like, some of these people, I worked with them for like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years, but I didn't know much about them. Right? Like, I saw them every day. I knew them enough to wave or say hi, or I knew the basic details of their life. And that's kind of where it stopped for me. And I was okay with that. And I thought I was being kind because I wasn't going on my way to be rude or mean, but I also wasn't going on my way to be warm to them and show caring. And at the time, I was okay with that. But as I got further in my spiritual practice and things of that nature, I looked at it differently. But he was always amazing at it. And I was always kind of in awe, right? He would... I would know him and I would spend a lot of time with him. Like we were good friends, and there would be somebody that we knew that I'll remember. Like last week when we were working together, they would say something. Like I don't know. I'm gonna make up something. They would talk about like cancer, for instance, right? And I'd be like, oh man, I'm sorry, and blah blah blah. Move on with our day. Never thought about it again. A week later, I'm with him like in the break room, and that same person we're talking, he'll pull out like a printed out paper that he found online addressing things that you could do for that particular cancer or whatever, just something to them, and give it to him and say, hey, I remember we talked about that. And I remember seeing that, and my first thought was, why the hell are you doing that? I mean, really, it didn't occur to me. But as I've gotten older now, that's being kind. That's basically saying, hey, man, you matter. You know what I mean? If it takes me 10 seconds to do a little bit of research to show you that I care, that's being kind. Now, I don't think we all have to go to that level, but it opened my eyes to, like you said, liking people and loving people, and being appreciative of people, human beings. That's not to say I don't still struggle with it sometimes, because I can still get to these little, like, these hermit kind of, like leave me alone type of mindsets. But I try to go out of my way now to be more kind and more empathetic and more understanding that other people have their own cross to bear. Like, everybody listening to this right now is struggling, and struggling. I don't mean, you're sitting at home with the shades drawn, crying your eyes out. No, but there's varying degrees of struggle. But everybody listening to this is struggling with something, right? No matter who it is, if you ask them, hey, what's stressing you out right now? I don't personally know of anybody I've ever met in my life that would be like, nothing, I'm good. No. Everybody's got at least 5 or 6 things right off the top of their head. Hey, well, this is this, and I'm worried about this. And so I think treating people that way, cognizantly, like, I think you said it one time that I keep, every time you say it, I say to myself, oh, that's awesome, I'm going to do that. And I always forget to. When you talk to somebody thinking in your head, hey, I love them.
I love you.
Or, like, I've gotten better at that. I'm not quite where I want to be. For me personally, I think that was one of my next stages of evolution, was actively approaching that. But yeah, man, I think that I do believe that there is something to being kind. And I think that we, instead of just saying it, I think we need to understand what that truly means and how to actually apply that to everyone.
Yeah, I like that, man. And I think it's important to also address the fact that it's getting too okay. You know how, like on the last show that we did, you talk about caffeine addiction, how everybody's always drinking coffee, and they say, don't talk to me before I had my coffee. It's also important to talk about the fact that we've also become okay to say, I don't like people, I tolerate people, but I love dogs, or something like that. You know what I mean? And I get it. I get what you're saying. And I know, and I know that the people sometimes could be a little bit more difficult than your own personal puppy and stuff. But remember, you don't interact with a lot of dogs. You interact with your dogs. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
are you getting ready to trash dogs right now?
I'm not trashing dogs, like I trash teachers sometimes. But what I'm saying is when people say that, I'm thinking, well, you're probably thinking about your dogs and the cute little puppies people are walking. But there's a lot of dogs that people have mistreated. Well, there's a lot of dogs that have been abused and mistreated out there that you don't want to deal with. Now, you give them excuses and reasons because they were mistreated and stuff, but you don't do that with humans. And so
exactly.
And I think the same understanding that humans are also animals. And so we are, I guess, the end result of a lot of stuff, man. We all have a story. And when you approach somebody, do you approach them with, only my story matters? Or do you approach them where they have a story, so I need to figure out what they really want my role to be in? Because that's the way I approach people. That's, you said one of the secrets that I do, which is I go up to everybody like I love them. I talk to everybody like I love them, regardless. You know what I mean? And you don't always have to like the person. I fought my family all the time, and I fight Dana. I'll fight my kids. I still love them. That just helps me come out softer. But the other side is what is the role that you want me to be in your life? You know what I mean? Because I just need to figure that out. I mean, it's short-lived. I don't know how long we have together. Are we only going to interact for 5 minutes and then never see each other ever again? I mean, there's so many individuals that you've interacted with that you've never met again in your life. And so I just think, what is my role? And sometimes my role is just to hold open that door. Sometimes my role is just to say, have a nice day, or thank you very much, or that was awesome, or that was very good. Something, some sort of compliment. And like you said, sometimes I'm in my own head, so I don't give you guys that compliment. I may not thank you when I should thank you. I may not say please the way I should say please. I may sound rough, but that's my intent. My intent is to go out there and, for that brief amount of time in that person's life, to at least it be a positive experience, rather than me be in my head about my story like I used to be, which is, I want you to think like this about me. I want you to walk away with this impression of me. I want you to not F with me. I want you to, and
Of course,
the whole interaction was based on what I wanted you to think and feel, rather than what is it that I can do to serve you. And man, that mindset, it's humbling, because it's hard. It's not easy. And I do slip sometimes if I'm moody, if I'm a little, off. But that's my intent. My intent is to constantly be servant related. And I'm not a religious person. So when I say servant, just understand that I realize that sometimes people use that in the religious tone. But I agree with those of you that are from religions of how you use it. And I fall in line with that same thing, servant in the same way.
Yeah. I think, like I said, man, I think you kind of hit it earlier when you said, we all have a story, right? It's like that old cliche. It's hard to be mad at somebody whose story you know. Another one, hurt people, right? It's funny you bring up the dog one, because that was actually, so when I would teach, and the grouping stuff, when I would teach Buddhism, when I would get to the Eightfold Path, the second part of the Eightfold Path is right intention. And right intention is essentially stopping coming from anger, greed, lust, fear, and stuff, and starting to come from love, compassion, generosity, kindness, right? And I use the animals as an example, is we're all exceptionally good at that when it comes to kids, old people, and animals. And I don't mean old like us. I'm talking about like really old, elderly, We're really good at old people, kids, and animals. For whatever reason, they all get like a pass to an extent, right? And yes, there's outliers who probably don't, but overall, as a society, those three were really good at empathizing. We're really good at understanding. Like the example I would always use is a puppy. If you go to like pet this brand new puppy and he like tries to bite you, most people wouldn't like kick that puppy or throw it across. Most people wouldn't do that. Most people would immediately understand, here's this itty bitty tiny little puppy, and it's probably terrified of this massive person. They would come up with all these justifications and all these scenarios in which this poor little puppy just needs love. But then they'll turn around into that person who's like, 30 years old, who's been, hurt their entire life and has never really coped with anything. That person has zero flexibility, right? Like that person is immediately like, you better treat me this kind of way, or you better behave this kind of way. And if you don't, then I'm going to unload on you. And the thing and one of the reasons that people give oftentimes that used to irritate me, I don't mean irritate me as in anger, irritate me as in like, wow, you don't get the point. It is, and I guarantee you've heard this before. Well, they should know better. Why? Like you've already created this narrative in your head about this other person and their entire lives and all the teaching that they've had, all the upbringing that they've had, and you've already come to the conclusion, well, based upon what I know, they should know better. Well, no, they don't.
Citizens Citizens
yeah, like they don't know better. Yeah. They know what they know. And even if they do know better, you're not allotting for the idea that maybe they had a really crappy day, dude. Like, you've given this person that you're interacting with, like, zero room for flexibility. Like, they have to be absolutely perfect. They had to have learned every lesson that has ever been taught to them their entire life, and they have to apply it perfectly right now. Otherwise, well, I'm just going to be a dick to you. Like, that's not necessary. That's not being kind. It's not being kind to them, and it's definitely not being kind to you. Right? It's not being kind to them because you're not acknowledging that they're human and they have mistakes and even if they made a mistake, they still deserve kindness. Like kindness isn't some magical reward that we only give good people. No, kindness we give to every human being on this planet, regardless. And then you're being kind to yourself because you're exuding, not to get too spiritual, but that's a karma, right? Like your intent. If you're intentionally coming from a kind place, then that kindness is going to come back to you as well. And if you're coming from an angry, pissed off, whatever place, it's going to come back to you eventually. It might not be directly right then and there, but it will. So being kind is good for them and yourself. And it doesn't matter if they trust me. I have people in my own orbit right now who are in a political sphere at the moment who are really far on one side, and then I have other people in my life who are really far on the other side. And I agree in some situations with some and not others, but they all deserve kindness. Because I have to understand that they came to that conclusion based upon a litany of things that they've been through in their life. And some of them were experiences they've come across that have hit them very hard, and they've walked away with a certain lesson from it. Other was observations that they've made in their life, whatever. Some of it's just straight up ignorance. They just don't know any better. It doesn't mean that they are a bad person and don't deserve my kindness because they feel differently than I do. Shoot, man, I feel differently now than I did 20 years ago. Does that mean, which one of me doesn't deserve kindness? The new me or the old me? Like, which one? No, we all deserve it. It just, and so we have to stop this idea, much like you talk about respect. We got to stop this idea that kindness is something to be earned. Kindness is something to be freely given, man. That shit is free, bro. Hand it out like it's, toss it out. There's nothing wrong with being kind to people. And the other thing I hear oftentimes is being kind only gets you, steamrolled or taken advantage of. Well, that's because you're assuming kindness is some sort of a currency. And it's not.
Transactional.
Yeah. I'm not giving you kindness to get something back. I'm giving you kindness because it's the right thing to do. I'm not requiring you to give me anything in return. I'm being kindness because that's how my mother raised me. I'm being kindness because that's the human thing. You deserve kindness. It doesn't matter if you say thank you. It doesn't matter if I never see you again. It doesn't matter if I just, because there's been plenty of people I've done that with. Just like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, I was at the Home Depot buying something. And as I was walking out in the parking lot, there's this couple. They were older than I was, and they didn't have mobility. And they did, I don't know what it was, the biggest box I've ever seen in my life. They were trying to put into the back of their car, and they were struggling hard with it. And as I'm walking, I saw them, and I stopped and asked, because it was the kind thing to do. I didn't need them to, give me a bunch of accolades. I didn't need them to, post about it later. I didn't need to give them any money. It was strictly, that was the right thing to do. Right? And because I know, what if I was struggling? What if my mom was struggling? What if somebody I know was struggling? I would want somebody to be kind and help them and not just be like, oh, sucks for you. So that's what I'm saying. It's not a transactional thing. It's not something that people have to earn. Kindness should be your default, no matter what. Right? And once again, kindness is just being there's two forms of it. There's one where you're just going out of your way to not be horrible to somebody. And if that's all you got, then hey, man, start there. But the other half of kindness is going out of your way to make sure somebody knows that you see them. Go ahead, man. I know you got something.
No, I was thinking it's like a funeral. Have you ever been to a funeral where someone says, oh, this guy is so great. He would give you the shirt off his back. But I've never been in that kind of situation where somebody describes someone and says, this guy was so great. He would give you the shirt off his back, but only if you gave it to him first. If you took your shirt off, then he would give you the shirt off his back. I mean, can you imagine if something like that were said?
Right.
But that's not how we view it. Again, that's when we view kindness in someone else, or we see someone else as a good person. We don't see the transactional. We actually do make comments about people being really good people or really nice people based on that kind of stuff, on that criteria that they give it regardless of who's in the room. I mean, you and I both know people that are always smiling, they're always in a good mood, and they got tons of baggage and tons of stuff in the background, but you're not going to see it, and that's not what they're there for. And they even say that. I'm the kind of guy, you ask me how I'm feeling, I'm going to tell you exactly how I'm feeling. But other people,
yeah, I'm right there.
You say how they're feeling, and they, it's not for this conversation, so they never ever get into it. Another thing I was thinking about was when we're in these transactions, right? Unfortunately, we are the losers, right? Because if I'm expecting a transaction out of the deal, then I'm putting an expectation on how you're supposed to behave and how you're supposed to be. And I'm just constantly being set up. I set myself up for resentment. I set myself up for frustration. I set myself up to be disappointed. And then my kindness is taken back. Then I take it back, and then you know what? The next person doesn't get it as much because now I'm always fearing that I'm not going to be treated the same way. So that's the problem with anything transactional, whether it be love, whether it be kindness, whether it be respect.
Yep.
Regardless of what it is, you do it because that's who you are. Like you said, you do it because that's the right thing to do.
Yep.
And earlier when I said, you cause the waves and the ripples and stuff like that, what I was asking was because at the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? Like you said, karma. Well, I'm going to throw out the word aura. Like if I throw out that energy, right? If I throw out negative energy or transactional energy, well, that's what I'm going to attract. I do believe that there's secret ways that we all are either attracted to each other or repelled from each other, and I think that's where you see it. I think that's where it is.
Yeah.
It's in the invisible eye, that third eye, that kind of feels like this is a negative person, or this person is
We
not.
all know, yeah.
And you're just repelled. I mean, you didn't make a conscious decision. Sometimes you make a conscious decision when it's obvious, but there's a lot of people that you don't make a conscious decision to repel. You're just not them. And then there's some friends you meet, like from the day one that you and I met, we just clicked. Boom, it was
Right.
it.
Yeah.
We were connected. That doesn't happen all the time. I meet tons of people.
Yeah, no, I couldn't
And I
agree
was
more.
not kind to you initially. I was not kind to you.
You didn't even respond for like a year. No, you're 100% right, though, right? Once again, in the spiritual world, we refer to that as karma, right? That's the karmic fruit. Right. It's whatever your intent was. And if your intent is coming from a transactional perspective, that's obviously an unskillful act. And therefore, the karmic fruit that you're going to get is the things you're getting in return. But
by the way, I want to go back to that dog thing real quick because I want to say something about the dogs and humans.
Okay.
I've never had a human, no matter how jerky they are, no humans ever come into my house and just peed on my floor.
There's still time, right?
And if a dog does it, you may get upset, but you'll give an excuse. Like, dogs can pee everywhere. And people will be like, oh, it's okay, I'll clean it up.
You know what, though? But that's...
And drunk people throw up anywhere. And people are like, it's okay.
You know what, though? I'm going to call BS on that one because when you were talking earlier, the person that came to my mind that's just always is Dana, dude. Dana is like ridiculously nice and comes off super kind.
You don't live with her. She's a
I'm about
demon.
to say I'm not married to her, so obviously this is different. But I think Dana would, if somebody walked in and just peed on your floor, I think Dana would be super nice to them and understanding until they left, and then she'd be like, "What the hell was that?" But I agree with you.
That's true. That's very true. She would be nice.
Yeah, I think she'd be super kind.
And then she'll look at me and be like,
don't ever let that person back in my house. But no, you're 100% right, though, with the transactional nature of things, man. Dude, like, oftentimes our feelings would get hurt, man, and we did it to ourselves. I would argue that it's 100% on us, but that's a conversation for another day. And that is... you didn't hurt my feelings. I did. Because I expected you to do something different. I thought about in my head what this ought to be, and you didn't match it, so therefore I'm upset, right? And so once again, we can get to that another day. But how it relates to this particular conversation is, yes, if you're being kind with the expectation that it should come back to you, you're going to get disappointed. And then you're going to approach every situation with this like barrier, this protective barrier of, I don't want to get hurt again, so therefore I'm just not going to be kind to you. And then other people are going to not be kind to you because they have the exact same mentality you have. And then your perception of the world is going to be, nobody's kind. Well, they are. You're just not bringing that into your life. Yeah, people are just bad. Everybody disappoints you and lets you down. You got to hang out with different people then.
No, what I like, people go like, people, New Yorkers or
yeah,
people in Florida.
Yeah.
It can't just be that person. It's
no.
all of them, whoever they represent to you.
Exactly.
I'm not saying I haven't done it. I'm just saying that it's funny how we as humans, when we're getting moody, we don't just blame you. It's you, your family, your people that have your skin tone, people that have your height, people that have your weight, people that come from where you come from. It doesn't matter what it is. Everybody likes generalize it. It's weird. Dana and I, you guys like a few trash TV shows. So do we. Dana and I like a few trash TV.
Of course,
it's the way I love it. So my daughter Zoe got us into this 90-day fiancé, and apparently there's a
my wife has watched like every episode.
There's 5 million episodes. I don't even know how you can because there's so many different variations of 90 days. It's ridiculous. But the funny thing is all it takes is one person from another country and they think it's our culture.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they judge the American culture by one person. I'm like, that's one.
Yeah.
There's so, you know, that you people just like you exist in this country. So our culture is like a mixture of all of it. So, but it's just like that with kindness. You know, in other words, we tend to look at somebody, right? And like if I look at you, Trinity, and you just don't even look kind, you're in that silent mode. You're just walking all quiet.
Sure.
You're just kind of like hanging out in the corner. I'm like, oh. You can make all these preconceived notions of what he's thinking. Oh, he's self-absorbed. He doesn't want to talk to me. He wouldn't be approachable. You know, he's being rude right now. You could think all that stuff, but that's not what he's being. What he's being is he's just in his own bubble, not disturbing your bubble. But if you'd like to approach the bubble, approach.
Yeah.
Now, it's at that point that then if you make a judgment based on somebody after you approach the bubble with your kindness and they don't respond, then you can make the choice to just keep it moving.
Sure.
Walk along.
Sure.
That person doesn't want to interact today. But it's just like dogs. Again, bringing it back to dogs. You go to a dog, you put your hand in front of their face, right? You don't just come up and just want to pet them, or you can't even judge them from afar.
Some people do.
There's a lot of cute puppies out there. You get real close and yeah. All right, I got you. You know, so you just got to put your hand out. Based on that response, that's how you know how this relationship is going to go. And I would encourage that we all do that. But just don't put your hand in front of our face.
I don't want to smell your butt either.
And I don't want to smell your butt. But that similar. Figure out the human sameness of that, and do that. Then if you want to pass judgment, then pass judgment.
Well, and kind of staying with that same philosophy, if you will, with the transactional stuff. There's another thing that I find myself doing at times, and I don't think it should be stopped per se. So if you're one of the individuals that does this, I think the true skill is not in ending it, but understanding when it's appropriate, right? And that is, I used to pride myself on, so in my journey, early on, I prided myself on just being the biggest, baddest, whatever, right? Don't even mess with that dude. This aura of intimidation and respect and fear kind of a thing, right? And then, I evolved from that, and then I spent many years in this idea of, well, I'm going to give you what you give me, right? And I think that is where the sweet spot is, right? I think that's where the skill comes in, is balancing being a mirror and still being kind. And what I mean by that is I think there is a time and a place where when somebody's just being, blatantly rude and belligerent to you, there is a time to match that energy and be like, hey, I'm, creating a boundary and saying, look, I'm not going to accept, I'm not going to accept that behavior from you, right? But there's also a skill where I also need to be kind and understand that maybe the reason why you're giving me that energy is you're just not having a good day today. And that's okay. And I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to add to your misery by now also, going off on you and everything else, right? Because if you're having a bad day, the last thing you want is some other person, going off on you. Like, dude, are you serious, man? Like, I'm already having. So I think that is the next evolution for a lot of us is kind of understanding when to balance that out. Because, like, I get it, dude. Like, I none of us want to be a pushover. None of us, nor should we allow people to berate us or to go off or whatever it is without any sort of response, right? But that response doesn't have to be like a nuclear weapon going off on somebody. That response can still be kind, right? Like, and one of the, so for me, the way that looks sometimes, that I've had to learn how to balance it. And once again, I'm not perfect at this, man. That's why they call it a path, right? You're going to go down this path. So for me, the way that looks sometimes is if somebody, like, I'll use my wife as an example. There's days when my wife just had a bad day. It happened, whatever. She was at work and just things didn't go the way that she wanted to go. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's in pain. I don't know. Something happened. She'll come home, and the energy I get from her is not kindness, right? The energy I get from her is whoa, something's off today, right? Now, I can choose to say, well, I'm going to be a mirror, and I'm going to go ahead and add to it. And be like, you don't talk to me this way, and I could do that, but that might not end in a nice way, right? So what I've learned how to do in my life, the way I balance that mirror out, is I'll say, whoa, okay, it's obvious that something happened. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go ahead and give you some space. I acknowledge it. So that's how I set my boundary. I let her know by saying, hey, whether I don't know if you intend to or not, but your day is spilling out on me at the moment, and that's okay. I get it. I see it. But I'm going to go ahead and distance myself and give you some space. And so
don't be Dharma guy with me right now.
I've had that.
Dharma time.
I've had that.
Home time.
I've had that. But the point is, I set a boundary, and I did mirror. I mirrored her by showing her, hey, whether you intend to or not, it's spilled out on me at the moment. And I don't feel like I deserve that. But I didn't give it back to her. I was still kind in the sense of, like, I'm going to let you have that. I'm going to let you have that moment. I'm going to let you be upset. I'm going to let you go through whatever steps you need to go to. I'm just not going to participate in it, and I'm not going to give it back. Once again, I don't do that 100% of the time. I'm unskillful like everybody else. And there are days where, like, maybe I just wasn't patient, and we're both impatient, and then, but overall, that's why I say it's a skill, and that's why I try to balance it. I try to get better at learning how to mimic and mirror while at the same time being kind. Now, would I give that same kindness to some random stranger who approached me on the street? I don't know. I hope to, but I don't know if I'm that skillful just yet, But it starts in my home. It starts with the people that I love and care about the most. They deserve my kindness the most. They deserve, because not to get off on a tangent, but I hate that idea of if you don't, accept me at my worst, you don't deserve. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. My family shouldn't have to endure my worst. I should strive to not make them endure my worst, and they don't deserve that. So, like I said, that's where the skill comes in. Is we try to understand and mimic while at the same token being kind and understanding. And I think we could all do that, man. I really do.
My wife does have to deal with me looking my worst, though, man, because I'm not always going to do my hair. I'm not always going to be all dressed.
I gave up looking good a long time ago, man.
All right, but what I want to add to that is, all right, so we all know how fond I am of our educational system. So,
sure, if that's what we're going to call it.
Well, I mean, it is an educational system. But in that system, isn't it weird how we don't learn de-escalation techniques? We don't learn dialogue.
We don't learn a lot, bro. They don't know how to balance a checkbook or buy a car. There's a lot.
I'm going to go on, but I'm going to go to the English here for a second because, we learned, hi, my name is Louie. Hi, what is your name? Oh, how's the weather? Oh, where are you from? What do you do for a living? We learned all these sentences, right? We learned, see Sally run or whatever that was. But what we're not learning is if the person is not being really, I don't know, very approachable in that conversation, or being rude or being hurt, we don't learn how to maneuver that. You know what I mean? And I think
agree.
I think that's some important conversations because in counseling or therapy, when we go through our trainings, it's all about de-escalation. It's all about maneuvering those kinds of conversations and listening and kind of getting to a different place. Wherever you're at right now, it's where you're at. I can't push you out of it. I can't. There's no magic word that I'm going to tell you to get you out of it. But there is a lot of different skills to be able to use to kind of have it go at least in a different direction than where it currently is. It's much like Aikido, right? So if I would learn any martial art, that's the one I would want to learn. How to use your momentum and your force and your strength against you. Why? Because I'm 52 years old. So I'm no longer interested in learning any kind of martial arts where I have to be the strongest one or anything like that, or my punch has to do anything. What I'd rather do is use your momentum and slip and slide, right, and let you just go. So that is, I think, how we need to learn how to communicate, like communication Aikido.
Yeah, I agree.
Rather than just bulldozing, and I just think, or silence. And I really don't like the fact, like, when someone's really feeling something, they're really upset and frustrated with something, and someone's go, what's wrong? What are you doing? What? Nothing. What? Did I say something to you? No, I didn't say anything. I'm just here quiet. Go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Right.
No, seriously, just talk. Say something. And it's like, can you just at least acknowledge when I'm saying that you are saying something with your eyes and your mouth? And you are saying something. So at least admit it. Says, if you want to be jerky still, just go, yeah, I'm thinking something and I am feeling something. But you know what? I don't want to get into it right now. So please just go ahead. Now, that's different.
Sure.
Then just say, what are you saying? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not thinking anything. Now you're being paranoid. You're just being paranoid. You're being sensitive. And then just, That's where I think that we go real wrong. We're just not honest people in communication.
No, we're
You know what I mean?
not. No. We're constantly worried about either A, hurting other people's feelings, or B, being vulnerable, right? Because we don't
See,
want
that's
to.
what I need to be. That's what I need to be, Trinity. In my household, I need to be more conscious about hurting people's feelings.
Yeah.
You know, see, what I like is I want you to tell me whatever it is. I don't care what it is. I feel like I could take it. Now, am I sensitive at times? Absolutely. But I'll get over it. It may hurt. It may sting. I may not like it. But trust me, my memory is very short. My
Like a
bandwidth is very
goldfish.
short. I am Dory. And by tomorrow, or maybe even by 5 minutes from now, I'm already like on to the next thing. I'm very forgiving. So I really don't care. I don't hold any grudges.
Sure.
Whatsoever.
Well, I don't want to ignore the comments and stuff. So once again, for those of you who are watching live, you're on Facebook.com/WPSN99. Normally, Dharma Time is on Tuesdays from 1 to 2. Couch Live is on Fridays 12 to 1. And then on Monday evenings, we're on WOKB 1680 AM. And I believe it's 100.7 FM now, I believe. I got to look that up. But I think that they just,
What?
yeah, I think they're 100.7 FM now.
Wait, WOKB 1680 Moon?
I've seen a lot of postings about it. But anyways, I digress. If you're listening to this on a podcast and you want to watch live, those would be the times and locations. So my mother actually, good old mom, she's paying attention. She said, good morning. Michael Maynard said, hey, boys. Julie Hoyt said, hey, fellas. And then Marissa said, yep, it's usually rudeness now or condescending, talking down to people because you think they're ignorant for not seeing it how you do. I couldn't agree more. Julie said, great show. Love the topic. Thank you. Then Marissa also said, when I'm quiet, people think I'm mad. I relate. And then she followed that up with...
It's because you're a New Yorker, Marissa.
yeah. She followed that up with, one thing that drives me nuts is when people use the excuse of you're my bumper. Just because they know you love them, they think it's okay to treat you unkind. And that is 100% true, right? I know a lot of people who... yeah, I'll address that really quickly, actually. Part of being kind, we do have this mindset that, because we've heard it, right? You hurt those you love the most, right? And you do hurt those you love the most, but that's not good, right? Like let's stop accepting that as if it's okay or acceptable. Is it a fact? Yes. But it's also a fact that we should try to change, right? Because at the end of the day, have I probably hurt the ones I love the most inadvertently? Absolutely. But holy shit, that's not a goal of mine, right? Like that's something I need to actively work against, because if there's anybody on this planet that deserves my hurt the least, would be the people that are there for me and love me the most and support me. The people that I know that I can call on, no matter what. Those are the people that I should actively avoid hurting. So like we have to understand that there is a limit that everybody has, right? And those people in your life that love you and care for you, they might not leave, but they can be filled with so much resentment that they're not there for you the way that they have always been. They might love you, but from a distance now. And you can want to blame them all you want, but we can't act like you weren't the catalyst to that. So if you're going around just saying and doing and thinking whatever you want to the people around you because you think they're going to be there, or oh, you're my wife, you're my husband, I can say whatever I want. You can, but just understand that there will be consequences to those later on, right? Because there's nobody in this world, and that goes back to my whole idea of you don't love me at my worst. Nobody should have to endure you at your worst, right? Like that's not some badge of honor. Like, I'm at my worst. No, like you don't even like you at your worst. That's why you try to get out of it. So stop making the people around you who love and care about you the most endure it. Matter of fact, stop making anybody endure it. Nobody deserves to endure you having a bad day. It's not their problem, right? And that's where the whole kindness comes into play, is just be kind to people, man. Everybody's got so much stress on their plate and so much stuff. The last thing they need is you to pile onto it. And that's part of the path, right? As a practicing Buddhist, there's nothing that I can do to take away anybody else's suffering, right? It's called equanimity, is what it's called. But I can't take away your suffering. There's nothing. Your relationship to suffering is your own, and you have to do that work to create a detachment between you and the suffering that you're going through. But the one thing that I can do, and that I'm supposed to do, is not add to it. I don't want to be the reason you're suffering. Now, I don't mean, interpretations of things or no. I'm not talking about the complex stuff because that's interpersonal relationships. I get that. What I'm talking about is I know when I'm being a dick to somebody, right? I don't want to be the reason you suffer. I don't want to be that person that you can look to at the end of the day. Well, that dude was just rude for no reason. That's what I mean by being kind. Be kind, man. If you have, there's nothing wrong with just smiling at somebody, waving at somebody. I do it all the time. People think it's flirting and stuff, but if I see, and I do it to both men and women, if I see somebody who smells good, I'll tell them, hey, you smell really good. There's nothing wrong with that. You might brighten somebody's day. Wave at somebody. Smile at somebody. Tell them you like their shirt. I don't care, man. Just give a compliment. Open a door. Pick up a bag. Just be kind, and you'll be amazed on what that does for them and what that brings back into your own life as well. But yeah, I agree, Marissa. Go ahead.
I think we need an asterisk there. We need an asterisk, right? So if you're the because if you're the employer, or you are the
we are woke now. Yeah, go ahead.
Don't make any comments about their shirt. Don't make any comments about their pants. Yes. Don't make any comments about how they smell, their hair. None of that.
You have to release a statement that says, "I think everybody in the entire place, no matter what shirt it is, what color it is, has a nice shirt."
Right. If you're female, you could say honey, sweetie, baby, all that stuff. If you're a male, get all those words out of your language. You never call somebody sweetie or honey. That's ridiculous.
Right.
So I tell you, it just needs an asterisk because you're trying to be kind, but you're just being a little creepy.
Right.
All right. You're trying to be kind, but you might be creepy. And creepy might get you in a little trouble.
It might get you fired nowadays.
Yeah, exactly. So just be a little bit conscientious as well. So be kind and conscientious.
Balance, baby, balance.
And that's my final words on that, man.
That's your that's your wrap up.
Yeah, man. Good topic, Trinity. I'm glad you brought it up. I'll try my best to be more kinder to you. I don't even know how to say that.
Mo kinder. We'll be mo kinder. That's all.
I'll try to be. I'll try to be more nice. How about that?
There you go.
Try to be more nice to you. But if it's a competition thing that we're discussing, like sports or something like
all
that,
bets are off, man.
All bets are off.
Because we all know the Niners are better.
Right. As long as we have that leeway, then I'm good. I appreciate you, man.
There you go. All right, so I'll do the wrap up now, I guess. I'm gonna go ahead and take him off so that way he can go do what he needs to do. Anyways, so yeah. So first of all, housekeeping. As always, you can follow us on social media. He is at the Dope Doctor. I'm at the Dharma Guy. We are actually both on TikTok. Ugh, never thought that would happen, but we're both on TikTok and all of the social media. By all means, go check us out. You can watch older videos of this on youtube.com/dharmatime, or you can go to Dope and Dharma on YouTube. We're still working on that one. And any podcasting platform, we're on there as well. And yes, we do get a benefit if you share, like, subscribe, those kinds of things. Algorithms love that, and they show it to more people. So if you think you got any value from this and you want to share it, by all means, please do. So having said that, my wrap up. Kindness, man. It costs nothing. It really is worth it. I think when you show people kindness, true, genuine kindness, I think that it not only improves their day, but it improves your day as well. This idea that not everybody deserves it or whatever is just complete BS. Everybody deserves kindness. I don't care who you are. I don't care what day you've had and how you're unskillfully reacting to that. You still deserve kindness. Because, we've all been there. We've all had a bad day. We've all had a bad moment. And the thing that we needed the least was somebody to come and pound more stress into us. Sometimes a kind gesture is enough to take you out of a whole funk. I've been there myself. I've had days where I've not been feeling it, and just a random person was kind to me, and that took me out of my entire funk for the whole rest of the day. And I can thank them for that, right? Because that's what kindness brings to the table. So that's all I got for today, man. I think kindness is something we should all do, so go out there and be kind. Let me find the outro here, which I don't have. Oh, there it is. So that's all I got. Now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.